Now that we've had a few killing frosts throughout the state, you may need to be thinking about fertilizing your trees and shrubs in the landscape. There are a lot of advantages to fall fertilization. First of all, we know that the grass underneath the trees in the yard area has gone dormant. And so the fertilizer that you put on the tree now will not be taken up and utilized by the grass, but it will move down into the soil profile and be used by the roots of the tree themselves. But since the soil is still warm down in the soil area below the turf, then there is still root activity, and so you'll continue to get root growth and an absorption, of course, of these nutrients. I like to use just a common all-purpose garden or lawn fertilizer for this fall fertilization treatment. The one I'm using today is a 12-12-12 garden fertilizer. The rate that you need to use on a tree is at a rate of about 1/2 to 3/4 of a pound per inch of trunk diameter. So estimate about what the diameter of the trunk is, then calculate how much fertilizer you would need, and then just scatter this fertilizer all around the tree in a circle from the trunk out to the drip line of the tree. That way you'll make a good even pattern of distribution around the tree so that you will not have too much concentrated in one spot, but that the entire root zone will be able to utilize and take effect of the nutrients as they are dissolved into the soil. And you may want to go ahead, if it's not going to be raining within the next few days or week, and water this in well just to get it on down into the soil profile. Now, the tree that we're fertilizing here today is the Chinese pistache tree, and I might make a few comments about this tree as well as some others that are good choices for the landscape. You know, last week on Oklahoma Gardening we talked about some pine species that were good for Oklahoma, and there are 2 or 3 or 4 good deciduous trees you may also want to look at. The Chinese pistache is an excellent tree and is adapted throughout most of this state. I like this tree because it grows well on a wide range of soils. It is a relatively fast-growing tree, a good strong tree in that it is not that much susceptible to wind damage like some of our other fast-growing trees are. And also it is relatively pest-free. In fact, I'm not sure of any pests that are really damaging to this particular tree. And one of the other good points about Chinese pistache is it has a beautiful fall foliage color. So if you're looking for a tree in your landscape that is not really a large tree but yet can make somewhat of a small to medium-sized shade tree, has good fall color, is pest-free, strong and fast-growing, then I'd recommend the Chinese pistache as one that's available in the nurseries throughout the state. Another good tree for landscaping is one over here that we're looking at, the lacebark elm. While the lacebark elm may not be noted for its nice fall color, nonetheless it does have a really attractive green glossy foliage on it in the summertime and on into early fall, even this late in the fall. But the real notable characteristic about this tree is its attractive bark pattern after the leaves fall, and even in the summertime when you have the lower limbs removed on this tree and that bark pattern is very evident. It has a lacy texture to the bark, hence the name lacebark elm. I also like the lacebark elm because, again, it is a tree that's fast-growing, adapted throughout most of this state, and also is a tree that is relatively pest-free. And yet a third tree that's real good for Oklahoma landscapes is a shoe-marred oak. The shoe-marred oak is another tree that is pest-free. It is a fairly fast-growing tree and has, again, a very beautiful fall foliage color to it. And if you're looking for an oak in your landscape and you want a good substitute for the pin oak, then think about the shoe-marred oak, because it does not have some of the problems that the pin oak exhibits as far as poor soil conditions, but yet also has that same general growth habit, characteristic, and pin oak look that the pin oak tree has. If you're looking for a tree for your landscape, a deciduous tree that may add color, then certainly now is the time to be looking for trees, because as you look in the nurseries and the garden centers this time of the year, you're going to be able to tell what that fall foliage color is. Fall foliage colors may be dependent upon a variety of things. They may be dependent upon the general environment and growth characteristics of that tree. They may have somewhat dependency upon the soil types and the general environment of the soil itself. But by far the most important thing is the inherent characteristic of that tree. And if you really want to know what the fall color is going to be, whether it be an elm, a maple, an oak, or whatever, then go out to your local garden centers and take a look at those trees now. And you may want to consider one of these trees we've just mentioned as good trees for Oklahoma landscapes.